remember about it. I'm not going to, we're not going to talk about seventh grade biology much, but just that. And glutamine is one of those amino acids, and it happens to be the fuel that the immune system runs on. So it's very plentiful in the body, but like after a workout, we could be depleted in glutamine, so we want to replace it. So we want to replace it by eating foods that are high in glutamine. So glutamine is found because it's an amino acid. It's found in animal proteins, fish, chicken, beef, shrimp, crab, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, all this kind of stuff. But what about vegans? What are they going to eat? So plant sources of glutamine would include garbanzo beans, lentils, beans, asparagus, nuts, and then lots of leafy vegetables, red cabbage, parsley, spinach, collard greens, kale, cilantro, radish greens, things like that.
Cool.
So these are, so make sure you get plenty of those to keep your glutamine levels high.
Oh.
So another thing, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Excellent. So that means hummus with cucumber and onion slices as your little dipping thing and the occasional piece of bread, if you eat it, is a really good snack.
Well, it actually does sound like a pretty good snack, but hummus doesn't have as much protein in it as people think. If you read the label, and I'm an obsessive label reader, it's mostly fat. It's good for you. Yeah, it's good for you. I mean, it's got good, healthy things in it. But yeah. So anyway, I wanted to go into two other reasons that protein is so important, and this has to do with appetite control because of the hormones that protein influences. One very important one is CCK, which is just a short way of saying cholecystokinin, and you don't have to know how to spell it. Just remember CCK. But this gives us an amazing feeling of satiety, and satiety is the feeling that we don't need to go back for more food, like after a meal. So let me distinguish it between satiation from satiation. Satiation is what makes you say, okay, I've had enough, I'm done with this meal. That's satiation. But satiety is the reason that you don't feel as if you have to go back and have anything more. And it can last for hours, 2, 3, 4, even 5 hours or more. And that has to do with, if you had plenty of protein in it, it probably would last a long time. So CCK is great stuff. The other thing about CCK is that it can keep us from craving carbs, especially junky carbs. So that's a good thing too. Now, protein also decreases levels of ghrelin, and I think ghrelin is like a monster hormone. It increases our metabolism, it increases our appetite and slows our metabolism. Can you say yikes? Who wants that?
Really?
Really. So protein will decrease levels of ghrelin. And last but absolutely not least is that protein helps with brain chemistry. Those amino acids that we were talking about is what the brain uses to make many brain chemicals that make us feel good. Serotonin is one, dopamine is another, norepinephrine. I mean, these are things that make us feel good. And so we want to make sure we have plenty of protein to make sure that the brain chemicals can be made.
Absolutely. It's sounding more and more important as I listen.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, now let's talk about something really important because I'm thinking about the average grocery store full of all kinds of choices. What are some of the things we should avoid?
Okay. I'm going to mention two things right now for the same reason: sugar and white flour. And the thing I want to focus on is that both of them will trigger high levels of insulin, and insulin, in turn, will trigger inflammation in the body. And I think you know about this, Rhonda. You even mentioned something in an email to me. But in general, avoiding high insulin levels will help to prevent inflammation, which is considered the root cause of, some people say all disease, but certainly all chronic disease. So all those metabolic diseases we talked about earlier can be caused by inflammation. So I said insulin resistance is the underlying factor, but that goes hand in hand with high insulin. and high insulin is where all this inflammation comes from. And foods are a key factor in controlling inflammation. So if you want to go anti-inflammatory, eat lots of vegetables, eat a little bit of fruit, like 2 servings a day, eat whole grains if you're going to eat any kind of grains. Herbs and spices tend to be anti-inflammatory. Keep your diet high in fiber. And I know people are stressed to the max right now, but keep your alcohol intake moderate, simply because alcohol triggers very high levels of insulin. And then there are omega-3 fats, and we hear about omega-3s all the time. They're anti-inflammatory, they have antioxidants, and they do all the wonderful things: decrease cholesterol, decrease heart disease. They're good for prenatal brain development, so pregnant women might be interested in making sure they have omega-3 foods. Decreasing postpartum depression is another important thing, or depression generally. Just omega-3s are really good. So where do you get them? Leafy green vegetables, there I go again. And then also walnuts, flaxseed oil, not the seeds, but oil, hemp seed, chia seeds, and fish. And if you're eating fish, it should be wild fish. Why? Because fish in the wild eat green leafy vegetables, and that's where they get their omega-3s. So there you go.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Now you just described almost exactly the way I eat. Does it?
Excellent. Good for you.
Yeah. I think I might, on occasion, not every day, but I think I've probably been eating maybe 1 too many servings of fruit. But I can tell you, during this entire shelter at home thing, I was like, well, I'm here. There's nobody else here to, peer pressure me or sway me. I'm going strictly back to my anti-inflammatory diet, and all my pain went away. And then,
oh, fantastic.
Yep. And then one day, we ordered pickup once. I had pickup one time. I thought I was going to die that night. I didn't sleep. The pain was so bad. So take it from me, folks. If you're really suffering from anything that causes chronic pain that's based on this inflammation stuff, and you think that what you eat doesn't matter, well, it mattered for me. It might for you too. Horrible.
Very good point. Good point.
It really made a big difference. It's like, oh, no time like the present to experiment on myself. I can be my own guinea pig, So I did. So what other suggestions do you have for us?
Okay. I think, let's see, I'll limit this to 2. One is hydrate. I think it's really important. And I know these days some people are saying, you can drink coffee. It doesn't really matter. There's water in the coffee. I really think it's different. Again, 7th grade biology, we learned that plain water goes through the body differently from anything else, which has to go through the digestive system. So it's a different kind of thing, but make sure you drink plenty of water. And the other thing is vitamin K2. This is a vitamin not many people know about. So K1 is what we get. First of all, we get it from leafy green vegetables, but it also helps the blood clot properly. That's very important. But K2 works completely differently. It can prevent cardiovascular disease, basically by preventing the deposit of plaque inside the arteries. How do you like that? And then it also helps with, and then it also forms strong bones and teeth. It can prevent osteoporosis, prevent kidney stones. It's good stuff. And the way it works is when we eat K1, the human body can't really convert that to K2, but in animals it can. So let me give you an example. If you have let's say a dairy cow eating grass all day, well, that's where they get their K1, and then they can convert that. They convert that to K2. So the way from foods, you get K2 by eating, let's say, grass-fed butter, grass-fed cheese, also fermented cheese, brie, cheddar, Gouda, those are fermented cheeses. And then vegans can get K2 from fermented foods like kimchi, fermented vegetables, or fermented soy, which is called natto. And then real fermented sauerkraut. Sauerkraut that's really fermented has two ingredients, cabbage and salt.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Yeah, not the stuff with vinegar in it. That ends up being something like, I guess, pickled cabbage. It's not really the same thing at all. So I can give you a brand. You can get it online if you can't find it where you are. You're on the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have no idea where to send people to have them get this type of sauerkraut. But let me give you a brand, and you can find it online. It's Kuhne, and it's spelled Kuhne, and that you'll find it online. And it's worth getting because you get, first of all, probiotics from it, but also the K2. All right.
Oh, I'm sure we have it because that's made out in Illinois. It's got a.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole distribution. It's a big farm.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a big farm company. I think it's in Illinois. No, I'll have to look it up, but if I remember right. Awesome. Oh, well, that's really cool. Now, of course, I wouldn't be the money coach if I didn't ask you. Getting all of this special stuff and changing what we're doing is going to involve a little bit of a shift in the way we budget our grocery money, and definitely going to involve a shift in the way we budget going out to eat or getting delivery, as the case may be, for the next few weeks. How do we take our budget into consideration when we're choosing these healthier foods?
Okay, so I would need to start with a disclaimer because this particular thing is not my area of expertise, but I do have a few suggestions. So the first thing is, as simple as it may seem, avoid junky foods, granola bars, candy bars. Avoid that because you'll spend lots of money and there's no nutrition whatsoever. So that would be a great thing to make a point of avoiding. And then the other thing is, I think a lot of people realize this, like beef is more expensive than chicken, but the quality of protein that you get in chicken is going to be just as good, and eggs are a less expensive option too. So that's just choose the less expensive option as long as it's really the same thing. And organic foods cost more, so eat your produce from that Clean 15 list. Then you don't need to buy organic. You can save that money and buy organic only when you're choosing foods that are on the Dirty Dozen list. So, let's say spinach and kale, which are on the Dirty Dozen list, they're so good for you, buy them in organic form, and that's a way to use the money only where you have to. And I heard this, and this is kind of cool. Produce that has a thick skin that we don't eat, or a shell like walnuts or something like that, doesn't need to be organic. So I'm thinking that the shell or the skin will protect the food from pesticides. But a banana would be an example of that. Certainly walnuts, as I just said. Kind of cool. And here, yeah, go ahead.
It is. And, part of it goes back to the way it's raised. For example, bananas grow with that skin and it forms first. So even if it is sprayed, it only goes on the skin, and not very many people eat the banana skin.
No.
You got to be a real adventurous, hungry person to eat the skin of a banana.
Very.
Now, apples, on the other hand, get sprayed when they're blossoms.
Yes.
So you
might
maybe get those organic. So you got to be careful when you're looking and see what is what. You're right. But
for what it's worth, apples are on the Dirty Dozen list.
Yep,
every year.
That's why
they're on the Dirty Dozen list. So that's another reason that you want to buy organic when you eat apples, because it's on the Dirty Dozen list. But
Absolutely.
Frozen. Oh, check it out. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Now, I just got a thing from our producers. We kind of went a little bit over time. So we need to wrap up. I'm so sorry. Tell us about your website. And you said there was going to be a free gift for folks. Oh, I'm so sorry. We could go on and on.
I know. That's why when you said basic guidelines, I'm like, yes, let's keep this basic. It takes forever. Okay, so my website is last resort nutrition